Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda. I am autistic, I have ADHD, and I have some other neurodivergencies that I talk about on this channel, so make sure you check out my playlist.
Oh, and I almost forgot. I added two new playlists. One is if you are new to the channel, it's a Start Here playlist, and the second one is a playlist of videos that I think might help if you have friends or family that want to learn more about autism.
So today I kind of want to talk about autism and habits, executive functioning, and invisible disabilities. So we'll tackle the disability one first. There's a lot of people who really don't feel like autism is a disability. In the US and in many other countries, it is in fact listed as a disability. And I agree with that 100%. I think there's some internalized ableism that goes along with some people not wanting autism to be a disability. And we just really need to keep doing the work to uncollapse being disabled with something negative. I will say this over and over and over on my channel. Disability is neutral. It's not good. It's not bad. It is a variation of the human experience. And autism falls oftentimes in that invisible disability category. Now, I think that people with level 2 and level 3 autism, sometimes people can spot the fact that these autistic people have some sort of disability. They may or may not know what it is. Sorry. Okay, so baseline. Autism is a disability. Well, and then to talk about just really quick also, because it is important for me to keep mentioning this and bring the conversation up to current levels of discussion on autism. We are no longer using functioning labels that went out like over a decade ago. Functioning labels have been proven over and over again to be incredibly harmful. If a person says that they are high functioning autistic, that puts, basically it tells people that my autism isn't affecting you in society, and I can pass enough to be neurotypical, and it diminishes my autistic experience. And to be called a low functioning autistic person in our society often just dismisses that person and tells people, oh, they don't have any value, which is absolutely incorrect. So functioning labels, we need to move away from using them. And if you yourself identify as high functioning or low functioning, I invite you to take a deeper look into it. Now, medically, we are still using support levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. I do feel like we need some distinguishing between the different levels of autism, because a level 1 autistic person's lived experience is vastly, vastly different from a level 3 autistic person's experience and the support that both of us need. One thing that I get frustrated with is that people hear low support needs and hear zero support needs. Autism, again, going back to what I said, is a disability, and we need support. That's like part of our invisible part of our disability. And as a what I call high masking, and I feel like high masking is a valid term because my autism went undetected for 42 years because I masked my traits so well, and because medical research basically failed me. Because if more doctors knew more about autism, my autism would have been caught earlier because it's very apparent that I'm very autistic. But what I was going to say is, like, even though I was high masking, part of my high masking was my being a stay-at-home mom. That fit nicely into society's narrative for me. But deep down, like, I knew when I was younger, I struggled to hold jobs. And I'm very glad that I met my husband and it worked out for us, for him to work and for me to be a stay-at-home mom, because holding a job would have been something that would be very, very, very difficult for me. I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but because, especially my PDA profile of autism, pathological demand avoidance, having autonomy over my schedule is one of the things that is vastly important to me. And when other people try to put constraints on my time, I get dysregulated very, very quickly. And, most jobs kind of tell you that you have to be there at certain times and hours and stuff like that. And there's a lot of other things that would make a workplace difficult for me, sensory-wise, and other social aspects too. But the one that would even prevent me from applying for jobs, the couple times my husband and I kind of discussed it, the thought of being put on someone's work schedule or having a job where I had to be there like that one always just was like, oh, I just viscerally would kind of like rebel against it. So, okay. I was going to segue that into talking about habits, but I forgot how my segue was going to work. So we're just going to jump in. It all ties together. So part of the diagnostic criteria for autism and the reason why it is a disability is that we struggle with executive functioning disorder. By the way, this is where a lot of the, if you're ADHD, this particular conversation has a lot of overlap between ADHD and autism. I usually talk about autism more on this channel just because I feel like I relate stronger to my autistic traits than my ADHD traits. But this conversation really is more often identified as being kind of an ADHD realm. So both with ADHD and autism, executive functioning disorder is like part of the diagnostic criteria. We have trouble with performing tasks in our daily life that are tasks that we need to do to sustain ourselves. And there's a lot of discussion around habits and like life hacks and things like that for autistic and ADHD people. Like, oh, if you do this over and over and over, it will form a habit. But that isn't really true for our brains. For a neurotypical brain, and there's debate, like some people say, like if you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit. One study said that you have to do it for 260 days. That one's kind of an outlier. Most of the studies I've seen are a lot shorter time period, but if you do something every day for a certain amount of time, then it's supposed to become a habit. And what a habit defined is something that you can perform without really thinking about the micro tasks that need to go in to perform that task. So for most neurotypical people, they wake up, take a shower, brush their teeth, and it's a habit. They don't have to think about it. They perform these things without thought. It absolutely blows my mind. Every single time that I go to brush my teeth, I have to think about the steps to brush my teeth. I am going to brush my teeth. I need to grab the toothbrush. I need to put the toothpaste on. I need to, turn on the water. Like, it's not a habit. Like, it's a procedure. And so a lot of ADHD, these are the life hacks that you hear about. We can set up procedures and routines to try to make certain tasks happen for us. But if there's no external cue for that task to happen, an alarm or like tying it to something externally, then we're not going to just do the thing. Case in point, I did yoga every day for 46 months. I started it in 2019, April 2019, and I did a minimum of 15 minutes of yoga literally every day for 46 months. I'm laughing because that's another thing. A lot of times autistic people, because we're very literal, when we say we do something every day, most of us actually, we mean we do it every day. And I would have people ask me like, oh, did you take Sundays off or, things like that. I'm like, no, I did it every day. I said I did it every day. I literally did yoga every day for 46 months. Anyway, it never became a habit. I thought it did because this was before I understood how neurotypical people experience habit. This is like one of those things about language. We use language and we think we know what we're talking about towards each other. But neurotypical people, when they say they did, like if they did yoga and it became a habit, then their bodies would just like kind of fall into the routine without it having to be that much thought. It would become part of their just daily functioning without it being a struggle or I'm struggling with the words because this is kind of something new that I'm learning about and it's like fascinating to me. But for me, I didn't have a set time. I would do it sometimes in the morning, afternoon, dinner, or after dinner, not during dinner. And because it wasn't a habit, I didn't have a certain time of day that I did it. And literally every single day I had to go to that same process. It never got easier. So that's the other thing about habit is like, once it becomes a habit, it becomes easy to do the thing without it having all of the initial work. Like in the time that a neurotypical person is that 30 days or however long that they're performing the habit, during that time, there's mental work that happens until it becomes a habit. And then it gets easier for them. It never got easier. Now, what it did do is I would start to feel anxious if I didn't do my yoga that day, but that was because of my autism wanting to have the streak keep going. And so if it got later in the day and I didn't do my yoga, my autistic brain would be upset that I might ruin my streak, but it wasn't, it never got easier to actually do the yoga. And then the other thing is, if somebody who has a habit like doesn't do their habit, it'll feel weird. It'll feel off. It'll feel like something's missing. Originally I was because it never got easier, right? Like I thought I would just do it forever because I was like, but it took so much brute force to make myself do the yoga every day that finally I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop at 4 years because it's like my autistic brain like needed a good number to stop at, because finally I was like, the streak was becoming more detrimental than actually helpful. And this is also when I was having all this foot pain that y'all have heard me talk about on this channel and stuff like that. Well, anyway, but I couldn't. My brain was like, I'm done. I'm literally done with yoga. And so instead of making it 48 months, I pushed myself to make it even 46 months of yoga. And then the next day when I stopped, I didn't feel like I'd broken a habit. Like it was done. Like, because there was never a habit there. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. Okay, so this also goes into daily life functions. So, like I said, about brushing your teeth, also doing the laundry. So when a young child or a preteen or whatever, they're learning how to do the laundry, at first, they have to learn the steps. They have to learn, sorting clothes, which no, we don't sort clothes in my family because that would be too much. We just dump it. But, I hear a lot of people out there actually sort their clothes. Good for you. And I mean that facetiously. Like, if you want to sort your clothes and you do, then that's great. But there's no like morality around how people do their laundry. It's like, just get the clothes clean. Anyway, but like if you're teaching a child or a teenager, whatever age you start teaching your kid how to do laundry, you have to teach them the steps. You have to teach them, this is how we do laundry in our family. We either sort the clothes or we don't, but we have to take them from the dirty area to the laundry room. Then we have to put the right amount of soap in. We have to put the certain buttons on, these are called micro tasks within the task. And after they've done it a couple of times, they don't have to think about it. They just sort the clothes, they put the clothes in, you add the detergent without thinking about it. It's just like a habit, like clothes go in, detergent goes in, machine. Like, that doesn't happen for ADHD and autistic brains. We literally have to think about every single step. That's why a lot of times an ADHD person will walk away from the laundry room and go, wait, did I put the detergent in? Did I do it? Was I doing it? I don't know. And then they have to go back and check. And like sometimes it's hard to tell if you poured the soap in. So then do you add more soap? Like, this is actually part of our diagnostic criteria. This is the executive functioning part. We struggle with doing tasks like this.
This is why it's an invisible disability. People cannot see the struggle of our internal inability to complete tasks. We need the same grace given as a wheelchair user who is confronted with stairs.
Because it never becomes a habit. We have to think through every single step. And when you're thinking through every single step of everything you're doing all day long, no wonder our brains get so overwhelmed and overtired. And when, instead of doing the laundry being a task, like a check mark off your to-do list, if you were neurotypical, our brains, it's like 20 tasks to do the laundry. So no wonder it's like, oh God, I don't want to do the laundry, because it's not like one thing you're checking off. It's literally 20 things, but we just don't write down all the micro steps. Yesterday, I wanted to power wash my porch. So because now I've learned about this and tasks and micro tasks and all of that, I'm like, because I was like, I wanted to power wash the porch, but there was a part of me that was having a hard time task switching. So that's going from one task to the other. So I asked myself, why am I struggling to start this task? Because I want to do it. Then I'm like, okay, let's break it down. What are all the things I need to do? I needed to change because I wasn't wearing appropriate clothing to do the task. See, that's a micro step. I had to change clothes. Oh, my nose is itching, guys. Sorry. Okay, so that distracted me from what I say. Okay, change my clothes. Then I had to get all the clutter off the porch because over the winter, like we had a lot of clutter and then whatever. Okay, clutter off the porch. Then I had to get the power washer out of the garage to the back porch. Had to hook it up. And that step actually stopped me because I'm like, oh, I don't remember how you hook this thing up. I haven't used it since last year. How do you hook it up? How do you turn it on? Like that. So that became a separate, like, hook it up, turn it on. Like, because I wasn't sure even how to remember how to use the machine. And then do the power washing. And okay, so like you get the idea, like lots and lots of micro steps. And then I was like, everything sounds good to my brain. My brain is happy with all those tasks except for the going to get it out of the garage, the hooking it up and turning it on, and then the putting it away. Like those three things were like making me really not want to do this chore. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, I need support in this area. So I asked my husband, I said, hey, I would like to power wash the porch today, but these are the three things that I'm struggling with would you be able to help me? And he's like, yeah, sure. Give me like 10 minutes. I'm like, awesome. So I went and got dressed and started picking up the clutter. And then he finished what he was doing. And then he went and got the power washer for me and helped me hook it up because I wanted to learn how to do that again too, and get it started. And then I power washed the porch. But if I had not broken down those tasks and asked for support where I needed support in the one task of power washing the porch, there was just a couple of micro tasks in there that my brain got sticky on, did not want to do them. But I got support around those tasks, then I was able to do the majority of the thing, and the thing got checked off the household to-do list. So I feel like there's like, a message in there. If you can find it, put it down in the comments. I need support on finding my message. Hold on, I'm gonna pause for a minute. Okay, I had to pause because I'm like, the video is getting a little long. I wanted to make sure that I said all my points and I wanna wrap up. Basically, I guess one of the points is, if you have an autistic person in your family or your life and you would like them to do something, and like you have a child and you're like, go clean your room, or you have a spouse and you're like, hey, can you clean the kitchen? That might be too big of a thing. Our brains, that is not a task. That is like 50 tasks. So if you can help us learn to break this down, like yesterday, I was able to break it down. But for a child, teach them how to break it down. And if it's a spouse, they're like, oh, I don't want to clean the kitchen. Find out, is it that they don't want to clean the kitchen at all? Or is there like one or two things? Like maybe the dirty dishes in the sink is such a sensory, disgusting ick that they're not going to clean the entire kitchen because of the sink. But if you can tell them, hey, can you do everything in the kitchen except for the dirty dishes in the sink and I'll handle those? Then it would be like really helpful teamwork kind of thing. Or also, gloves are great for dirty dishes in the sink. But some autistic people literally cannot stand the feeling of gloves on their hands. So that's not a solution for everybody. Okay, anyway. I guess I'm going to end there. I hope this video was helpful and enlightening. I know that I had a lot of big aha moments in this whole habit executive functioning, because I know that I've struggled with executive functioning and I've struggled with habit formation, but this kind of clicked into some pieces of why. So I hope that helps y'all too. And until the next video, guys, bye.